really excited about this resource. This is a resource that our community can use. And I'll tell you that Sean, together with other city staff, but I'm going to really champion Sean on this critical resource that I think is kind of cool. So, Sean.
Thank you. Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the council. Excited to be here this evening to introduce and give a quick demonstration about the Capital Improvement Program dashboard. And so we developed this along with a lot of other departments, especially Donna's team, and we had 3 goals in mind for this dashboard. We really wanted to make sure that we made all of the work that Donna and her team did accessible to the public. But our other goal is we wanted to make sure that we made it accessible in a way that was also interesting, interactive, and engaging for our users. So we didn't just want it to be a report that was out there, but we wanted to give the users some flexibility to manipulate the data and really dig into the data. And then a third goal that we had in mind really was we had to make sure that we built the dashboard for a very broad audience, right? There's people like me who, although I've been with the city for about 17 years, wasn't very familiar with the CIP process, right? So we wanted to make sure that we incorporated design elements that met the new users, people who are new to the CIP or who may not be as tech savvy. Also wanted to meet the needs of folks who are very familiar with the CIP process or the budget process and are really tech savvy and really wanted to dig into those numbers. And so the design element that we came up with is kind of this choose your own adventure type approach to the CIP dashboard. And we optioned a couple of different views for our users, a guided view, a summary view, and a detailed view. And so I'll just go ahead and kind of quickly give a demonstration of each one of those views and the features that are available in them. So if we look at the guided view, our goal here, kind of as the name suggests, is really to give a lot of background information about the CIP and then slowly introduce the data at the end. So we walk the user through the CIP process, some background information. So here on the CIP basics page, you can see, what is a capital project, what is a capital improvement program, information along those lines. Then we introduce the user, as Donna hit on, kind of the process about how a project moves from, hey, there's this need that we've identified in a department, all the way through the process to where council approves a project as part of the budgeting process. We also wanted to anticipate some frequently asked questions and get ahead of some questions that users may have about what the CIP program is and some of the details about it. With a lot of budget stuff, and especially my world, the tech world, there's a lot of jargon and terminology that although you try to minimize it, some of it you just can't avoid. You have to use it. So we wanted to put some of that down on paper to allow people to review that. As they're going through the dashboard, if they have questions, they can refer back to this page and kind of get some additional information. And as always, one of our goals is to make sure we provide opportunities for our citizens to stay engaged in the process. And so we want to make sure that we advertise the budget engagement opportunities that are coming up in March. Eventually, we'll have links to the CIP and the budget documents. And then, of course, we have previous budgets, I think, for maybe 20 years available on the city's website to go back and look at historical information as well. And a link to the comprehensive plan, as many of these projects interact with the comprehensive plan. And so as we guide the users through that information, the last step that we land on is kind of a summary data view or a summary dashboard. And we wanted to strike a balance here really between usability and functionality. So we wanted to provide enough information to where users gain value from the dashboard, but we didn't want to overwhelm our users with a bunch of tools and functionality to where the dashboard was going to be difficult for them to use. And so for this, the summary view, we limit it to just the first fiscal year of the 5-year program. So this summary view only shows fiscal year 2026 proposed planning and funding. And we broke out all this information, a couple fun user interactive features. So we have an interactive map you can see here on the left that maps out the project locations. And the size of the dot kind of represents the planned or proposed funding for those locations. And so you're able to zoom in on this map, hover over any locations to kind of see a preview of the projects. We'll go ahead and click on Peaks View Parks here, and you'll see that kind of lists a summary of the projects down at the bottom and kind of gives you a little bit of a narrative about it. And you'll notice that as I'm clicking and zooming in and selecting, the other graphs and charts on the screen are updating as well. And one thing I'll point out here, just because I've already selected something, is whenever you make a selection or a filter, there's a nice little eraser button that's available up top that you can click that will clear your selection, easily take you back to the beginning, because it's easy to get deep into this data and get a little bit lost. And so I'll just briefly go over some of the cards on the right. We have the summary pane that kind of keeps a running total of the proposed funding and how many projects that covers. So as you filter and search, that number will be adjusted. Then we also wanted to provide a breakdown by ward, a breakdown by fund, and a breakdown by service area. And so not only are these charts and graphs and tables informative, but they're also interactive as well. So if you only wanted to look at, say, Ward 1 and isolate Ward 1, you can click on Ward 1. It'll filter the map, zoom in on the map, and it'll also update the other charts and tables as well to give you that summary information for just Ward 1. Likewise, that works on the tables as well. So if you just wanted to look at, say, the sewer-funded projects, you can click on sewer. It'll zoom in the map, show you all the sewer projects for the city, as well as updating the ward and service area graphs and charts as well. And so that was our summary view. So if we go back to the home page, if you click on summary view, you essentially just land at the end of that guided view. But if you're returning to the CIP dashboard and you want to skip all the narrative, that's just a quick link for you to jump back to that specific view in that dashboard. But like we mentioned at the beginning, we also wanted to provide a little bit more functionality for those users who wanted to dig into and explore the data a little bit more. And so we created a detailed view. And the detailed view is very similar to the summary view. It just has a lot more bells and whistles that come along with it. So you'll see up top that we have the same summary pane, the same breakout by ward, fund, and service area. In order to save a little bit of space, we kind of hid the tables behind the charts, so you can still access the tables. So if you're one of those people who really enjoy seeing numbers, you can flip to the table. If you're a more visual person and like to see the charts, you can toggle back and forth. One added feature that we added here too is you can view the projects not only by funding, which we're looking at now, but you can also view it by total number of projects, because we know sometimes that's important to see how many projects there are. And again, you can flip back and forth between the table and the funding sources. And so that part is very similar to the summary view, but I'll jump into some of the items that are a little bit different about the detailed view. One key thing right off the bat is we include all 5 years of the CIP in the detailed view, so it's not just limited to 2026. It has all 5 years worth of projects on this part of the dashboard. And then on the left, you'll see one of the things is more advanced filtering and selections. So if you're curious about selecting a specific geography like Ward 1 or Ward 2, Ward 3, Ward 4, you can go ahead and do that over here. One thing that may not have been apparent on the summary view is we do have projects that cross boundaries. So we separated those out separately. We do have a lot of projects that are marked citywide projects. So these are projects like Donna mentioned, like the fence repair and rehabilitation that are just kind of, the locations are determined at a later date, or they're widespread throughout the city, like the lead and copper water project, where there could be hundreds or thousands of locations. And of course, we have some assets that are outside the city, like the airport and some water tanks and water assets as well that you can look at. So we'll go ahead and take a look at Ward 2. And then we can also break down by your funds. So if you're looking at the general fund supported capital improvement projects for like city and schools, you can filter. You have the ability here to select multiple. If you're more interested in some of our enterprise funds, you can look at, say, sewer, storm, and water. And again, it's really easy to get kind of clicked deep into this, so we provide you the ability to reset your filters. And for this demonstration, I'll go ahead and just choose city projects for Ward 2. And then, of course, as we mentioned, you can break it out by year too. For all 5 years of the CIP, you can just either unselect everything or select all 5 years. And I'll go ahead and look at 2026. And then we know a lot of times we reference things by their name, their location, or the description of the project. And so we also provide some abilities for you to be able to search. So if we want to say, look for all the city projects at City Hall, we can do that, and it'll further refine the filtering down to just City Hall projects.
Does it do laundry?
Close. Really, really close.
Another one of the features that is different is we provided the funding schedule. So if you wanted to look at all the funding for all 5 years, whether in terms of activity, so that's stuff like construction, consultant engineering, or equipment purchases, you can view that. And additionally, you can view it by funding source. So if you wanted to look at it by line of credit or pay-as-you-go, this table will be updated based on the 3 filtered projects we have currently based on all of these filters. And then the final feature that's a little bit different and allows you to dig in deeper is you'll notice on the right that this list has been adjusted based on the filtering, and these are individual projects. And something I forgot to mention is a lot of the tools on here have tooltips, so as you hover, you'll notice that there's little tooltips that pop up that prevents you from having to click to get more information. But on the individual project side of things, you can select an individual project. At the bottom, there'll be a details pane or button that will allow you to open up a details page specific to that project, which is probably just combines all of this into a simple kind of one-pager, if you will. Provides information about the fund, department, service area. Eventually, we'll have a link back to the budget document once that's published. Gives you the project name and a narrative about the project, priority information, and why the project may be important now for the city to tackle. And then, of course, we return back to the dashboard. And I think one other thing to show here, too, is we do have help available, so all of our pages should be able to link to a help page. Kind of just gives you an idea, a breakdown of the views, part of this demonstration that I already gave, some of the information I hit on. Hopefully soon we'll have some how-to videos, just short, quick hit videos for people who may need some assistance navigating the page. And then we also want people to be able to reach out and ask questions. And Citizens First staff graciously volunteered to field those questions for us. So if they're technical questions, or if something's broken with the dashboard, they'll most likely come to me. If it's a question specifically about a project or the CIP or the budget, they'll probably be referred back to Donna and her team in her office. So. We will, great, I'm glad you asked that question. I have it in big, bold letters. Either this evening or tomorrow, the city manager will be emailing you all a link. And then there's also a public link that's going to be published to the city's website tomorrow.